Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 246. We meet here to answer the questions asked in the SEO Questions community on Google+, or the Facebook group Dumb SEO Questions. Tonight we have Micah Fisher-Kirshner from the west coast of the USA. Micah is Senior SEO Manager for Zendesk.com and is also a regular on the public speaking circuit. And Tim Capper is CEO of OnlineOwnership.com. Tim is a Google top contributor in the Google My Business community. He's a conversion rate optimization specialist, proud to call himself an SEO. He hails from Corby, but we won't hold that against him. All right, the first one that we have tonight, let me just tweet that and go. This one is from Kath Dawson Courtney. Kath said, I've just had a chat with a business who lost all their web traffic when they rebranded and got a new website. How many times have we heard this? And only they appear to have covered all of the usual suspects. So what is missing on this list of what could have gone wrong? 1, 301 redirects not done or done badly. 2, duplicate site. 3, 301s done but content changed too much. Coincides with a penalty. That was number 4. There was a lot of old archived content that didn't come across. It didn't get traffic. So they 301'd all of those pages to the new home page. I'm wondering if this could have had an impact on the link profile once Google reviewed that. What else could have happened to make the site tank? It happened in May, and straight after the new site went up. Disclosure. This isn't a client, so all I've done is ask them some questions and suggested they check Google Search Console and ensure there isn't a duplicate somewhere.
Well, if we're talking literally all traffic, first thing that comes to my mind is you didn't transfer over the analytics script. So if you've literally got 0 traffic, to me that often implies purely like you forgot your analytics tracking script. If it's search traffic, let's see, robots.txt was not mentioned in that list. So if suddenly they forgot or noindex, they're moving from a staging server onto the main site, and they forgot to take off the noindex, or they forgot to take off the robots.txt. A lot of stuff could happen on that one. So that could also then just completely collapse the traffic. Gosh, let's see. So you've covered the 301s, penalties, duplication. If it's that extreme and it's a very massive site, if you did a lot of things all at once, then yeah, Google can kind of be pretty suspicious of what's just occurred. Shouldn't be all traffic though. A good chunk, yeah, possible, but yeah, that's not necessarily the issue usually. You could also have multiple 301 redirects. That can create an issue in addition to that. So if they're suddenly going through, I don't know, 10 redirects, or you created redirect loops, then even though you've placed the 301s, Google may not be able to follow through all of them very easily. So those are at least some quick examples, particularly more around the area of when all traffic becomes an issue. So if it's certain parts of the site, or if it's less than all, then there are potentially a lot of other smaller issues of what may occur. But when you see something that massive, those are kind of some of the things I think of right off the bat, in addition to what you mentioned.
Yeah, mate. Did you want to add anything to that, Tim? No? Okay. All right, let me tweet that and we'll move on. Niraj Pandey, I haven't seen him for a while. He said, hi, I have moved my domain from a.com to b.com. For the old domain, the Google My Business listing by mistake was deleted and a new listing approved. Not now, if anyone searches my old domain in Google, the new website appears, but the Google My Business listing is the old business appearing. Please suggest how to resolve this.
Okay, so firstly, you want to log into your business listing and change your domain. If you've got a Google Plus page connected to it, you don't have to, but if you do have still one connected to it, you may as well just post, your homepage saying, "Hey guys, our domain's moved," just so you're getting that out there. And also with your local structured, your local structured markup, put in the same as, and add in obviously all your social media, including your GMB, obviously your business page. Obviously, if you created one, you don't have to create one now, but certainly do a has map within your local structured data markup, and that has map would be a link to your new GMB map. So click on your knowledge panel, the little map section. It takes you into maps. Top left hand corner, you've got the 3 drop down menu. Click on that, then it'll say link to or share. Click on that, and then just get a short HasMap URL, and then use that HasMap URL for your in your local structured data markup. Also, I'm assuming in your contact page, you've got a, we're located here. You can embed the correct map, and this is just sending the correct signals to Google, saying this is the new listing, this is the new URL, and these. And once it figures out, once it's got all the correct, details in place, it should, in theory, start showing the new knowledge panel for your business name. But bear in mind, it does take a little bit of time to get all these things in place, because maps is on sort of like four separate databases rather than one. So it takes a little bit of time just to get all the correct signals in sync, but once it's done, yeah, that should be okay.
Excellent, Tim. Let's move on to the next, because we don't have Micah with us for very long. This one from Gooby Digital Marketing. He said, hi all, I have an e-commerce website built in Magento 2.0. The problem is that most of the pages are not in the Google index. None of my category pages are in the Google cache. The same goes for the home page. No idea what went wrong. The URL is www.constructionetail.com. Earlier there were product pages in Google cache with, I don't know what that means. I have updated the robots text file. Any hope will be appreciated. Notice, Tim, that he then put my name with a tag, as if he wanted me to fix it for him. He knows all you guys are
fix
there,
it for
but
him.
He called me.
Fix it for him then, Jim. weird thing I noticed is why has your homepage got a parameter query on? But anyway. Your mixer's construction page is indexed, and that's a category. But you're actually duplicating that. That use parameter queries. For no. Okay, I'm looking at your batching plant. See if that's... Now your batching plant is indexed plus a parameter query, v equals 1. I'd certainly look at robots texting these parameters. I don't know. They're all coming up v. Well, this one's coming up v equals 1.6. I don't know. I can't figure out what the 1.6 is because it's showing 9 on a page, 9, 15, or 30. So it's not the page display. It's not. I don't know what these parameter queries are for.
Got a 302 redirection from HTTP to HTTPS.
Your products are also, a lot of them are indexed with the parameter query on. The v equals 1.6. I don't know what. Right. So, well, I think your categories are shown. I mean, unless maybe some of the. Let me check one that's right the way down somewhere. General lab instruments. Let's check that category. That's right the way down the bottom of the structure. Oh, that's no, that's fine. That's in there. No, they seem to be indexed. So no, I've checked a whole random selection, and they all seem to be indexed. So I don't see that they're not being.
Yeah, I was on mute. I didn't realize it. Yeah, I'm saying the same thing. Everything looks indexed. The only thing that I could find that might explain this situation is that he might have been looking at the filter through the filter pages. So when you filter and you hover over the link, it has a parameters like cat equals. And so if he's looking for those pages, which redirect to the search engine friendly URLs, that might throw some confusion, because the search engine friendly category pages are there, but not the non-friendly, the ones that have a parameter. So that might be potentially why, where he's getting confused. But otherwise, yeah, like you said, I see the URL. So unless he's made some changes as of recent, it looks fine.
Yeah, one thing I would do with those parameter queries, because I can't see why they're specifically showing, but I would either canonicalize those or robots.txt them. I can't find any canonicals in them, so. But they're certainly indexed.
Holy cow, that's a long page. What is this? You've got a massive script that could be taken out too. What a style. 2,000 long lines.
If you're using, yeah, if you're using a Google font, why are you putting the font body actually in the?
I've seen the V1.9s are from the CSS files or JavaScript files. Huh. So maybe there was some issue, some bug that threw everything with the V on there, because I'm seeing it on the CSS. So I wonder if there was some type of weird quirk that threw that V 1.6 into all of his URLs.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because there's no difference. If I delete, well, at least at the top of the page, if I look at the CSS file and delete the V equals 1.9 as it is now, there's not much. There's no difference.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that might have been an issue. But yeah, just like redirect those or canonicalize them so you get rid of the.
Yeah, you have actually got canonicals on. I'm looking. Yeah, I've just found one. It's yeah. There is a canonical showing. That's.
I'll put a script in the chat. Why does every page have to have that script on it? It's the first script in the head content.
So, okay, here's something answered. Right. So his canonicals, I've just found a page. I'm looking at the mini mobile batching, and the original canonicals weren't in place, or they were in place, but they were referencing the parameter query. And checking today's version, it's the canonical is correct, referencing it back to the original URL, but that page was last visited on it was indexed on the 30th of April. So yeah, look, I mean, I think those will take care of themselves now, actually. We'll got to work them way through. But as to your initial problem, I see that is all of them, in fact, that I've looked at. Next. Oh, you really need to, I mean, just for a personal thing, you really need to look at your site's navigation on the left, because when I try and look at construction plant equipment, and depending on where I am on the page, it cuts off, and then I can't get to the end of the navigation. So if I'm at the very top, and I go to construction plant, and I want to scroll down on the categories in that, I can't. It just kicks me out. So I literally have to scroll further down the page at just the right point to get that, to get to the very final one, the fly ash brick plant. So I'd certainly look at your navigation there.
And the other thing is, every page has a canonical, a self-referencing canonical, but it's HTTPS. And to get to HTTPS, it's a 302 link, a temporary redirect. So basically, they're telling Google that all of these canonicals aren't permanent.
No.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And here's a classic. When I land on construction equipments.html, I'm 301 redirected to construction equipments.html. I'm 301 redirected to the same page. I don't think there's a rubbish bin big enough to take all the Magento sites in the world and put them in.
There's nothing wrong with Magento as long as you've got someone that's capable of handling that.
Yeah.
But I must admit, yeah, they do kick up a lot of weird stuff.
All right, well, have we done our best here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's one from Ankit Patel. I remember Ankit from a little while ago. Ankit said, "Hello, guys. My existing website homepage, 30 authority, not to do a single on the page, I have not done, a single on-page, off-page SEO site might have a duplicate content issue. Now I'm going to redesign a completely new site with a new directory structure. My question is, do I need to 301 redirect existing pages to new website pages? The internal page authority is 25, or will I need to start from fresh?
Okay, I think I understand. Right, depends what your you're running, your URL. Cheers, Micah.
Safe journey to work, Micah.
So it depends on what your URL structure is like now, and depends on what your actual structure is. If you're actually going to be, in your redesign, you're actually physically going to be changing your URLs, your URL structure, and your layout, then yes, you would need to 301 redirect the. So, for example, if you had if it was my site / pink fluffy elephants, and now the new category is actually going to be my site / brand new pink fluffy elephants, or green pink fluffy elephants, or whatever the case may be. If it's physically changing, yes, I'd recommend 301 redirecting the old page URL to the new URL. It will also help if anybody's ever linked to you, things like that. People click on the link, or if they come across it in a forum or a social site or in the search results, they click on it, expecting to go to Pink Fluffy Elephants, and they go to the new Pink Fluffy Elephant page. Yes, so you're absolutely correct. If obviously you can, and that's, like I say, it depends on how you're changing your structure. But where possible, if it allows it, try and keep the URLs within the actual, within the same structure. But, that's not often possible. So, yes, certainly make sure to 301 redirect the old page to the new, to what the new page is going to be.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, let's tweet that, and we'll move on to the next. This one from Patty Mantaloons. How does Google determine related search? The link's at the bottom of a search engine results page.
I think Bill answered that for us perfectly.
Okay, so Bill said in 2009, Google told us that they were generating query refinements based on an approach developed by Ori Alon. I wrote about it and he gives a link to his blog, SEO by the Sea, 2013/March / Google query refinements. That link can be seen on the Dumb SEO Questions community on Google+.
Yeah, also at the end of the day, even when we're this far down the line, even though we're just far down the line, you just got to remember that also there are some really, really crap results. All depends on what's available to Google. I mean, this week, just out of a random thing, I was looking for some content around pot wash sinks for restaurants, not the actual product, information on them. So guides, maintenance, plumbing them in, things like that. And literally within the first page, within the first 10, I think position 4 or 5, position 4 was on an article to do with penises, and number 5 was on another article to do with penises, and pure and simply because the article had mentioned pot, not washing, not guides, not not restaurants, not completely missed the guise of the thing, just simply because the articles. Yeah, so even in this day and age, Google gets stuff completely wrong.
You sure it didn't come from personalized search, Tim?
Oh God, yes, Jim. Yes. Yes, Jim, because all my life I sit there searching for pot wash penises.
All right, let's go to the next. It's another one from Patty Mantaloons on Google Analytics content grouping. Patty said, does one need to create a content grouping in order to view behavior for organic sessions? Really, I mean, the amount of not provided keywords, what is the use of Google Analytics these days? I mean, they've got some lovely tricks in there now, but that's just to take your mind off the fact that they're robbing us blind by not giving us the keywords. It's bread and circuses. Entertain the masses. Keep us thinking and, oh, look, what's that shiny thing?
Yeah, you know what? Search Console gives you more ideas on keywords, even though you don't get the exact numbers of, the real exact numbers. That gives you more information on keywords and analytics. And even if you integrate your Search Console, it still gives you a massive chunk of lots of, it's just ridiculous, really.
I mean, you'd think that AdWords, I mean, the thing was that they were going to continue to give them to AdWords customers, but, where do you find them in AdWords? I can't see them. Anyway.
Yeah, no, in fact, talking about AdWords today, completely going off script here. I was looking at AdWords for one of my clients, and they do locations, obviously. And in fact, we've just been looking at them earlier. And I came up with the weirdest query that someone ended, obviously going through the negatives, going through search queries just to thin things out. And this week, someone's been searching for submarine locations. Oh, you know what I mean? You know when you create an AdWords campaign and you literally think of literally every kind of possible negative keyword out there, and you chuck them in so that you're not appearing. I mean, how did I honestly think that someone was going to search for submarine locations? Needless to say, we don't have a submarine for you to come and do your photo shooting.
Yeah. Dan T said, I think you just want a segment there. And David Kuchar said, no, contact groupings are for seeing groups such as /product/ or /blog/. All right, let's tweak that. And we're on with the next. Charging through these, we have 13 to go. J.L. Faverio asks the question on WordPress search queries, noindex. He said, how do you noindex WordPress search queries such as / ? Sorry, like parameters and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yes, because it doesn't go to an individual page. Unless you do. So, so with those parameter queries, I would certainly do that. It all depends on what it is. It all depends on what page it's taking you to. So I'll give you an example. We've created, using search queries, but it takes you onto a tagged page. So if you search, for example, marketing within the site search, it would take you to marketing tagged properties, and then it shows you. And in that instance, where you can actually create a unique title, you can create unique body copy. Yeah, it makes sense because that is indexed. It's completely unique in the sense that, you know, you've got an introduction to the page, it's got its own, you know, content, and obviously then it displays the tagged properties for marketing within it. Then it will be fine. If those pages you can actually you know, make them unique in the sense that you can actually add body copy to it, yeah, fine. That would be okay. I wouldn't, you know, no index follow those because it's a unique page in that sense. However, if it's just a parameter query and it takes you to all the marketing tag pages or blogs or products or whatever the case may be, or if it's a job site, just the jobs, you know, all listed, then I probably would, because it's, you know, it's just not adding any value to it. You've probably got a category page for that section anyway, so then you're kind of duplicating those. So Jim, we can see your birthdays and all sorts.
Sorry about that, mate.
And the dodgy photograph that you were just about to show of some Russian bride.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in other words, it all depends on what page
What's my Pornhub favorites.
Yeah, so to recap, it all depends on what page that's taking you to, and then you make your decision based on that.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm not sure if we've actually, how do you physically choose? I mean, what would you do?
If that's in WordPress, you could literally, depending on what kind of plugin you're using, you should be able to, if you're using a plugin within that to generate the search within the site search, you should be able to select all of them as no index follows.
Yeah. What about Yoast?
Equally,
would Yoast do that?
I've never seen a search query site that's using Yoast, so I don't know, but potentially Yoast will pick that up and say, okay, you're using this, and bring it up into the dashboard. I'm not 100% sure because I've never looked at Yoast on a site that used a search query.
Yeah, I was looking at Yoast for a client. They said we just don't rank anymore, so their homepage is no index. And that they had no idea what Yoast did. I mean, it's a very powerful tool, but all of the default settings and no index follow.
Yeah, but hang on, depends on what when they uploaded that, because, you know, now Yoast will throw you up a big in your dashboard. It'll throw you up a big flashing red bar going, your site is not visible in red, you know, and it'll take you to the actual page. So they're obviously clearly not.
They must have an old version. Yeah. Okay. A good fellow, that Yoast. All right. Jesus Sanchez Analda asked us another question, follow up this week. Rank important keywords using category pages. Is it a good idea to try to rank important keywords using category pages?
I'm going to take a stab at pronouncing this, and I'm going to say that's Josu Sanchez. Josu. Okay, anyway, let me stop trying to pronounce. So, yes, in one word, but you need to understand what, you know, your site. So your homepage is going to be welcome to the pink fluffy elephant world. Pink fluffy elephants in the whole world. We ship, deliver, we handmade. They are made by Tibetan monks, you know, blah, blah, blah. All about my homepage. Now you have categories which take you to different sections. So one category could be for pink fluffy elephants, pink fluffy elephants that are large, and you click onto that, and that takes you to your pink fluffy elephant, large, pink fluffy elephant large. You will have an introduction to that, and that's where you talk about large pink fluffy elephants, what made them so large, why they're so large, why their diet's so bad, blah, 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 blah. It's unique and individual to that. And those keywords, when you say, keywords, those keywords would be unique to that page, your category page. The next category would be old age pink fluffy elephants. And that's your category. People click through. This is all about old aged pink fluffy elephants. This is what happens as pink fluffy elephants age. They get into old age, problems associated with old age, arthritis, knees, wobbly trunk, blah, 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 everything about old age. And that would be one of your keywords, old age. So yes, your categories are important in the sense that those categories are what are going to be appearing in search results. Because, so for example, my local SEO page category is completely different to my Google My Business or Google for Business category page. Although it's in the same scope of things, two separate offerings, two separate pages. That one, this page ranks for itself. This page ranks for itself in its own. You don't ever want to think that your homepage is going to rank for every kind of thing in the site. It's not going to happen. So yes, your category pages should be ranking for what those categories are. So you should treat those pages as unique pages. Good introductory copy. It depends what it is. If it's single page copy to a service that you use, it should be unique. It should be unique to that category or product or service. If they're products, obviously products related to that category should only be in that category. So yes, those category pages are what are going to rank for that unique page, product, service, whatever you've added into it. So yeah, make them unique. Great copy, engaging. If it's a service, talk about the service, where you obviously service, things like this. If it's products, give a great introduction to the products, and obviously only add products that are specific to that category in there. Don't try and chuck every single, you know what I mean? So unique, and those are what will be ranking for that particular search query.
Excellent, Tim. Tim, did you hear a Nigerian prince died this week?
How much is he sending me, mate?
Well, in his lounge room, they found $25 billion US.
I read about that.
He'd been trying to give it away for 15 years, but no one would reply to his emails.
Shit. I should have replied to his emails, man.
All right, let's go to the next. We've got 11 to go. How do I go about figuring out which links to disavow? Blake Aylett asks a question. I'm taking over a business's SEO because their last SEO didn't communicate well. However, the last SEO's approach was building a ton of links through submission sites. Well, that wouldn't be you, Tim. And with no content creation. Currently, it looks like most of their links are not from legitimate websites, but they are ranking well in search. That it would be true. I want to look at all of their 3K plus backlinks and disavow some of the spammier ones. How do I go about figuring out which links to disavow? Does disavowing links even matter anymore, or does Google do this for you now? I don't want to take away links that are positively impacting their rank. Any articles you can refer me to read would help. Thanks. Well, he's right to be concerned.
No, Google doesn't do this for you. In theory, Penguin's running all the time, and in theory, they should kind of just devalue these things. But depending on the level of something, they will still slap you with a manual, and they still do that. So essentially, what you're trying to do is say, okay, I want to disavow some of the non-dodgy ones for the less dodgier ones, because I don't want to get slapped with a penalty, which regardless of anything, you know, if you even leave the less dodgier ones on there, if the time came, you know, you may not be slapped with a manual, but then you'll be slapped with an algorithmic one, which is even harder to get out of, because with a manual one, you can at least clean things up and submit reconsideration requests and have that approved. Whereas with an algorithmic, you have to wait till the next update, which in theory is supposed to be live running now. I'm not so sure about that, because what Google tells you one thing and they do another thing and nobody ever knows. And so yeah, personally, I wouldn't go down the road and thinking, well, I'm going to try and pick the less crap ones over the, you know, the worst crappy ones to disavow over the relative ones. You know, if they're unnatural, they're unnatural. That's the bottom line, you know. Yeah, you know, depending on the massive amount of them, you could quite possibly lose a few positions. But, you know, why don't you start, you know, work, because you're going to have to work through these. Yeah, there are some tools, for example, SEMrush, they, you know, you can add it in, and they have a backlink checker, which potentially will flag up, you know, the really, you know, the bad, the medium, and, you know, the average ones to be concerned about. But I would still always say double check them yourself, because every single tool out there will flag something up that's potentially they say is, you know, bad, when actually when you look at it, it's perfectly fine. So, you know, even these get it wrong based upon domains or, you know, where they came from. In fact, I've had a couple of tools. I think they just randomly picked .gov sites. I mean, I was looking at one the other day which randomly was flagging up a .gov site from our version of the NSA, you know, GCHQ, which is like probably the safest site in the entire country. And they were referencing out to another tech site who had helped them with some research on cybersecurity, and basically these tools were all saying, whoa, that one's bad. So there's probably the most high authoritative and safest sites in the country, but all these tools were going, whoa, that's toxic. So so I would also double check them yourself, visual inspection to make sure. So I guess it comes down to you, but this is the way I'd be doing it. If I'm already, so you've been taken on as SEO, that's great. If I had been taken on is this. I'm not going to get through all those links in one day. You've got 3,000 or so to work through. Those you would have obviously spreadsheeted out. You might want to do it in a day, but essentially you'd spreadsheet them out, and you're still working on the other side. So you're working on, you're working on the site, you're working on the content, you're pushing things out. You've already started building up better stuff on the side. That is going to start attracting, a more diverse range of links now. So personally, for me, I would not even hesitate. I recently, on a brand new audit I did for a brand new client, I disavowed almost 90% of their links, and we are almost 4 months down the line, and I haven't seen any. I'll tell you right now, in fact, let me just double check. So long story short, 4 months ago, 90% of disavowed 90% of the links. They were really bad. They were articles, they were crap articles, they were press releases in the worst possible places. They were forum comments, all your usual dodgy crap SEO kind of stuff, which made up 90% of the link structure. About all of them, and their traffic and positioning stable. So essentially for me, I took the decision to remove or disavow all of them. Well, at least 90%, should we say. Everything's remained stable. So essentially now the only way is up for them. Improvement without the worry. That's the key thing. It's without the worry now. So now we can work on the site. We can work on building better stuff, pushing that out, generating good stuff coming back in without the niggling worry in the back of your head. I mean, if you don't clean stuff, if you don't clean it up, every time you see Barry Schwartz issue another update, whoa, algorithm fucking blah, 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 update this weekend, major blah, 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 webmasters crash, you'll panic every time, won't you? You'll go straight into your tool, check out, oh, I'm okay, I'm all right, positions are all right, I've dodged a bullet there. But you'll be doing that every month, won't you? You'll be like, oh, Jesus, I'll go update, oh, dodged a bullet there. So, do you know what I mean? It's entirely up to you if you're gonna, separate the wheat from the chaff. If it was me, I'd be honest with myself and remove. And I'm assuming I'm taking over business. So yeah, so these are clients. Be honest with them. Be honest with them. You just, all you need to do is pull off your spreadsheet, attach copy of Google Webmaster Guidelines, and say, look, this is my intended plan. And then, in their opinion, says to you, well, can we not remove half and half? Then that's their decision, not your decision. That the onus then goes back on them. Because even if you remove half and you've been working for 6 months with them to a year, and next minute, one day you wake up and the site's either completely crashed, or Search Console just slaps a manual penalty in there, the onus is on you because you never took the decision to remove all of that. So, it's just think about it. Think about it. There's a couple of options and a way to approach it.
On that site, Tim, the 90% of links that you removed, what was the gross number of those links?
Oh no, there wasn't. I'll tell you exactly. So there were 6,427.
Okay. Just to give Blake an idea, because his is 3,000 links. All right. Blake, that's your lot for tonight. And if you have more, we look forward to hearing your next question. Here we go. Here's another from Paddy Mantaloons in Google Analytics real-time URL. He said, what's the minimum amount of time a URL will be displayed in Google Analytics real-time? You'd think it would be real-time, but when I go to a page for 10 seconds, the URL appears in real-time for a few minutes and refreshing doesn't change it. Well, I don't know. I dispute that.
I've never, ever actually sat there and wondered what my real time and how long that URL is going to appear on there. I have noticed that I've been looking in, if I have been looking in real time, because it's obviously in the dashboard now, on the main dashboard, and if I've got it on my second screen open and I was doing something else, and you see the little thing bobbing up and down the corner of your eye, it will say, it does say, I can't remember what it says. I think it says this user has left, or that user left, or something like that. I doubt it's going to be 100%, you know what I mean, exactly real time, because where's the user, where's the tracking, where's it going through into Google, when it's coming back to you, to your, there's no way it can be real time. I guess is how long's the delay between the user, the data center, and your reporting. I've never thought about it. So, has anybody said? Have you just checked?
What's that, man?
Seeing if Google actually has said anything about it. Well, let's see what Google support says. Limits and caveats.
So I'm just looking at, I can't show you this screen, of course, but I'm just looking at now with active users on the site, and as one user drops off, one active page drops off at exactly the same time, which is what I thought did happen. Of course, it's difficult for me sometimes because there are so many URLs, active URLs open, that I can't see the bottom of the page, Tim.
You should start putting them into, start putting them into actual like categories or campaigns.
Yeah.
No, even their actual. No, even the Google support doesn't give you a delay. I mean, I would expect it to be a delay. There's no way it could be real time. I'm just checking Google's docs, but I can't see anything on exact amount of them. No, sorry, I can't.
I tell you what I'm amazed by is the rapid growth of tablet use. Have you noticed that, Tim?
No, actually not. I have noticed tablet and obviously mobile growth for over the last years in hospitality and tourism, but not actual purchases for any high value stuff.
Okay.
And in fact, all my like bland kind of commercial sites, literally the mobile traffic has not increased at all. Maybe a small percentage. What's going on? Oh, mobile first, this, mobile. I'm sorry, mate. I don't know what data you're looking at. Maybe you're just looking at your hotel and fucking, you know, your hotel and restaurant data around the world. But I don't know what you're looking at, because every analytics I'm looking in, and I'm talking commercial kind of stuff. So anything that, pretty much everything that's not tourism related or fashion related, everything else is like, no, I've just, you go back as long as the analytics was installed for, obviously sometimes a year, sometimes a couple of years, sometimes 5-10 years, but there's no difference. There's literally no difference. And maybe 1 or 2% here or there. You know, people in a professional capacity don't sit and search for their freaking tax returns on a shitty little mobile. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, and I'm sorry, I'm on a bit of a wind up here, but every time, you know, you see these things coming out from, yeah, mobile first, we're changing everything to mobile first, you know, all the updates that are rolled out in Google now. So with, you know, especially with Google My Business, Google My Business, all the freaking updates are rolled out in mobile first. When, you know, it just infuriates me. I don't know what data they're looking at, but, you know, I've got a small snapshot across different commercial industries and entities out there in the world. Everything except hospitality and tourism, which has seen an increase, but not purchasing for high value. You're not going to purchase a 50 grand holiday on your freaking mobile. You know, so I just honestly, when Google goes on about this, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Because I don't see it.
Yeah. All right. I think the thing that I've got to say to Paddy Mantaloons is that it seems to me that every time somebody drops off, their URL drops off too. So I think it's in real time. Anyway, let's move on to the next. And to the eyeballs that are watching us right now, thank you. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and we thank you very much. All right, Gregory Danshotter wants to know, do you guys automate some SEO tasks? He said, hi all, I was wondering if you guys have any automated systems / scripts in place to automate some SEO tasks with services like IFTTT. I don't know what that means. Google Analytics reporting, Google Search Console report. Thanks. IFTTT.
Search it, Jim. Search it. We're bloody SEO experts here, mate.
I will.
Come on, and do it yeah, and do it in colons. We don't want to misinterpret this, man. Sorry, Greg.
IFTTT helps you do more with the services you love. Connect Amazon, Alexa, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Fitbit, Slack, Skype, and hundreds more. I'm working on a patent, Tim, for an attachment for an electric drill to run a Fitbit. So you get a rubber band and you pull the drill on, and the Fitbit walks for you.
Yeah, but I've got a better one. Just attach it to the dog. Anyway, okay, so no, I don't, because some of them produce reports for me, They're not automated, or I could set them at automated if you wanted that, but I generally generate them at the end of the month. I use SEMrush, which generates some reports for me, and depends on what you want to report. Google Analytics, I create dashboards. Now, I've always been very upfront with my clients. They know me. I've always said, look, I can produce you beautiful reporting, but that is going to cost you extra, because naturally, I don't bullshit anyone. If you want really nice, pretty stuff, it's going to cost you extra, my friend, because then I need to obviously use and integrate different systems. But generally, I use dashboards for them, and of course, the dashboard reporting also gets exported to, depending on what metrics that I've agreed on with the client. I create a dashboard for them, so they get that straight off in PDF, but also export to Excel, which goes straight into the running spreadsheet, which just creates a table flow. So literally reporting based upon what we want to do. I guess you could consider it automated, but yeah, I've got to pull it off analytics, but it's literally 2 minutes. It's not pretty, it's not fancy, but it gives me every single metric that's required, and it gives me month on month comparison. Search Console, I don't pull any reports from Search Console. No, I don't pull anything from Search Console, but they don't do PDF reporting like analytics. That's all CSV. And same again, you can just literally export that into your main sheet. So unfortunately, I'm not providing any help to you here. No. And if I don't offer it, but if a client says, oh, I'd like to just, I do educate them on keywords and tracking and positions and every single, but if they do want to keep updated on that, I use SEMrush. That provides a nice little PDF reporting at the end of the month. There's also some nice PDF reporting in there. If you integrate your analytics and Search Console, it actually gives you a very basic reporting on your highest traffic pages, which of those pages were appearing for specific keywords, etc. So it produces a fairly nice breakdown that you could use. Just boom, report, pull that off at the end of the month, PDF it. But essentially, with analytics, when I take on a client, straight away we're looking at, so what kind of metrics do we want to look at? What are we going to measure success for this business on? And depending on that, then we create a dashboard in analytics specifically for those, so that at any one time I can go in, the client can go into analytics, hit the dashboard, select the date ranges, and at any one time, the client and myself, when we want to see what's going on, it's there in the dashboard, boom, and we both know what page we're looking at, where do we need to take action, what's happening, what's not happening, so.
Yeah, I use SEMrush's reporting function too, Tim, but I send them out every week, and just the ranking report, because there's a nice little trend graph in there, and it lets them keep an eye on things, and it's regular. Reminds them, and SEMrush automatically sends it out for me every week.
Yeah, there was I can't remember the name off the top of my head, Greg. If I remember, I will pop it in, you know, in the answers here. There was some analytics / SEO reporting tool where I can't remember the name. So essentially, same thing. You integrate your obviously you attach it to your analytics. Then you go in and you select all the metrics that you want to report on, etc., etc. You know, you create your own like dashboard graph for them, which you can do in analytics. But essentially, this then makes it really slick and pretty. And each month you can you know, add little bits, you know, a bit of text, say, oh, this was a drop, I believe it was because of this, blah blah blah. And then in the next section you can say, oh, look at this, conversion rate was up by 2%, ha ha ha, pat me on the back. But it was, I mean, literally it was quite expensive. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, sorry. If it comes to me, Rob mentioned in the comments, Swido does something similar. So double check it out. SWYDO.
Should also mention SEMrush give gratis a copy of their Guru subscription to Tim and Rob and I. All right, let's move on to the next. 8 to go. Sujit Das suggested multiple different niche services under one domain. What strategy do you use when you have multiple different niche services under one domain?
Well, Sujit, you see, this is the thing. Okay, so you've got niche services. Well, ultimately they are all linked, because you're not going to have that. They should all obviously be intertwined, because you're not going to have industry and then, you know, you're not going to have a service for bricklaying, are you? Ultimately, it's all going to be one big informally connected. Yeah, I'm assuming it is. Or are you doing some weird kind of thing where it's like a job board where you can have from dentists to bricklayers to gardeners? I don't know, but let's just assume that in a normal world that it's a brand called Sujit Services, right? .com. Now, these are niche services that you or people within your company can provide. So your niche services will obviously have their own category pages. So it would be Sujit.com bricklaying services, and one would be Sujit.com landscape gardening. So we're all kind of talking in the gardening, bricklaying. Then it will be Sujit.com window cleaning services. So it's all falling into one brand name, different niche services within that business or brand. They would have their own category. And of course, because they're niche, you would be discussing what you do. So let's say the one section is landscape gardening. One, it's what is the service, who you are, how long you've been doing the landscaping service section. Obviously, because they're a niche service, you obviously have different people than the brick builder guys in the company and the window cleaner guys. So you could list the experience that these guys have in that and what they bring to the table. Because you're providing a service, and I'm assuming this is not an online service. Let's say this is real world. You're actually servicing a particular area. So talk about those areas that you've serviced. You know, do you expand? Can you provide services out to further areas? Do you have any examples of landscaping that you've done in particular areas? Can you link to any of the blog posts that you've done on, hey, our new landscaping, check out this beautiful landscape garden we did in this location with 6 waterfalls. Can you link through to that? So what I'm trying to say to you is, for a brand or a business to have different specific services, those should be on their own page. They should have unique content. And you put it this way, you need to provide content on there, 1, to inform the reader on what you do, 2, to make an informed decision to purchase from you. You know, you need to give them as much information as they require to purchase from you. And I have this argument a lot of time with clients, because they'll have some great web design company that charges them an absolute fortune to build their site. And when you look at the category page or the service page, you've got this really lovely graphic with, oh, these beautiful swirls and this logo and all of this kind of stuff. And I'll go, well, how much does it cost? Oh, no, but we don't, well, we don't. What? How can I make a purchasing decision if you don't tell me how much it costs? Well, you need to email us for that. No, thanks, because I can just do a reverse image search, or I can search for the next guy. You know, if you're not going to provide the information, where, you know, what areas do you serve, or who's going to serve me, or how long have you been in business, or what's the procedure? You know, what's your procedure? Do phone you up or email you? Do you want to come out? Do you see it? Do you cost it up? What's the, oh no, you know, oh, that's too much. No, give as much information that you feel is required for that customer or user to make a purchasing decision.
Fair enough.
You can't just put a picture and say, give me a call for a quote. I mean, because nobody's ever going to call you.
That's so true. All right, so summing up, as Sujit does, it's okay to have multiple different niches under the one domain if they're more or less related. You wouldn't put together plumbing services in a knocking shop. But the thing is, if your niches, if they are not broadly related, you might consider it a second domain. Would that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the whole thing, like I said in the beginning, I went on the assumption that this is a brand with the services somewhat related to the business. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next, and we have 7 to go. Eunice Burbeam asked the question, he said, hey everyone, any tips on how to avoid issues of duplicate content for a new site? I know it has something to do with canonical tags. No, it doesn't. But I don't know how to implement those. It's easy. Any help? Thanks. Well, it looks like Tim's just taken a call. I'll try to fill you in. You're right. You're back, Tim? I get to hear coffee. Okay. All right. Well, adding canonical tags is as simple as you like. In fact, Jennifer Slegg, in an article on the SEM Post, either today or yesterday, reiterated the fact that Google recommends that every page you have has a canonical tag, self-referencing to that particular page. It helps you with defending yourself from spammers, people that scrape your site and steal your content. At least Googlebot will know that the canonical tag shows the original location of your article. So it's worthwhile implementing canonical tags. And If you're using WordPress, there are plenty of plugins and so on that will do that for you automatically. But a self-referencing canonical tag is what your aim should be on every page. Now, how to avoid issues of duplicate content? Don't even think about worrying about duplicate content. It's not a penalty. It's not even an issue. If you have two pages that are more or less the same with more or less the same content, first you slap yourself on the wrist for doing that in the first place. But if it does accidentally turn out that way, you're not going to come into any harm. It's just that both of those pages will be indexed, barring any other things that might stop that from happening, but they won't rank together. They won't be as close. Googlebot will choose one of them, and the other one will be, the second page and further on, where nobody will ever see them. So it's just that you're wasting good content on pages that might be more or less duplicate. Look at each of your site. It's very hard with a site once it's been online for a little while. It's very hard to look at it with a critical eye, but look at all of your content, and if you're writing something so that user experience on that page is the perfect user experience, that'll automatically take care of duplicate content. Tim's still getting a coffee. Rob is still there. Any other comments? All right. Well, you drew the short straw tonight, Eunice. I hope that's useful for you. But yes, figure out how to do canonical tags and make sure they're on every page of your site. And don't be too concerned about duplicate content. Just write every page, treat every page on its own merit. Try not to have two pages both telling the same story. You're better off with one. And particularly when your site becomes very, very large, then you run into issues of crawl budget. You don't want pages which aren't going to show up. So, be meticulous in your self-scrutiny, and you'll avoid those from the outset. Did you want to make any comment on duplicate content, Tim, before we move on?
Yeah, so let's just, so Fred, yeah, I would, for example, tags. If you had pages that were creating parameter queries that didn't land onto a unique page, it was just a parameter query, whether it be price, color, etc., I would certainly canonicalize those back to the originating URL or category. If, for example, we were talking in a WordPress sense, for example, and you were using tags on articles or even on products or pages, because depending on how it's set up, you can do those. Same again, if the product or the tag is not landing onto a unique page. And when I say unique, by the fact that it's actually got content on there, it's not just like the boom, with the bulk standard tag page with the products in or the blog posts in. I would certainly just go in and no index follow those. You're just, you're just making sure that you're not having thin pages appearing with no value on them. You want users to appear or land on a page that they can actually make a purchasing decision based upon, and Google obviously tries not to, doesn't want to show these thin pages anyway, but if they did, it's not a great customer experience, if they landed on them anyway. So ideally you don't want those in search results.
Excellent, Tim. All right, next one. This one from Aubrey Thompson on e-commerce site, duplicate content. He said, I work on a large e-commerce site and much of what we sell is the same few products, just with a slight variation in each. So we have a lot of product pages. The only difference between each item is the size and color. And unfortunately, we don't have the means yet to group those products together and have a drop-down menu for options. So for now, each product variation gets its own page. Well, that's a very bad user experience because, okay, so say someone happens to have landed on the green one, how do they know where the pink one is? How are they going to get there? It's not hard to implement drop-downs, even if you're pulling data from a database. It really isn't hard. And if you can't do it yourself, you could hire somebody on Fiverr to do it for you for very little money. I would do that. All right, let me finish the question. I know we do not have exact duplicate content, but the existing product descriptions are very similar to one another, as are the products themselves. Should I leave it the way it is with similar but different enough content, or write one well-written paragraph as a template and set the rest of the pages with a rel canonical tag, only changing the size/color details? I don't know if Google penalizes for repetitive similar content, so I'm unsure of how to proceed. Any insight is greatly appreciated.
Okay. This is okay. So there's not a penalty as such. Okay, so it's not a penalty as such. The problem here is, and if you think about it this way, let's say you've got a chair that's got 5 colors. Literally, the only thing that's different is virtually. And maybe a size here, a couple of centimeters here or there, depending on whether it's got a different foot or whatever. You know, Google ultimately then looks at these and goes and starts to filter it. Or worst case scenario, Google came across the green one first, and when somebody's searching for blue, it's not going to show, or it will return for a very general one without searching the color. Let's say it's a specific kind of chair without a color, then it returns the green one in search results, and people don't want a green one, so they don't even click on the site, right? So essentially, this is the way I would kind of look at this slightly. If you certainly can't get your site to sort this out, okay, all right, hang on. So you're talking about Christmas trees now. Okay, so you're talking about Christmas trees, right? Well, so essentially the way I would kind of look at this is the only variation is height. And things like that. So I would possibly look at it as, if you can't have these category or product selections in your e-com site, which it sounds like you can't, I would try and structure them either by height, you know, what the actual variation is. But essentially, but let's just go back to the different colors. I would pick the, you know, the bulk standard kind of thing, you know, 6-foot Christmas trees, and have a, you know, a really good bit of content onto that. And then I would have, you know, obviously we also provide these in green, yellow, pink, and blue. And then obviously within that product, you can link through, or if you can possibly have that kind of thing, you know, people also search for, or whatever. And then link it to the green ones, pink ones, blue ones, so that people can click through. Those other pages, the pink ones, green ones, blue ones, blah, 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 I would just canonicalize back to the main generic product one, right? So that at least you've got one where you've, you know, this is our, you know, our 6-foot Christmas tree selection. You give a great description, where it was grown, how it's maintained, how artisanal we are, what date of year this is ready to be sold, is it in stock all year, you know, was it hand pruned, you know, we gave it a glass of beer every week, you know, the whole thing about this tree, right? And then, of course, within that, we also provide this in a selection of colors, pink, click here, green, you know, da, da, da. But those pink, greens, green ones, yellow ones, which are all the same product but different variation, will then actually canonicalize back to that. I would then certainly, most certainly, be looking at ultimately sorting out your e-com site that can actually have or do this for you without having all these canonicals coming back to it. I would certainly look at a developer, not the guy who did this for you, because he clearly didn't know how to set this up properly. So I would certainly look at and potentially start budgeting over time for a new design on this, because you really, really don't want to be going down this road over time. If you're creating new products, creating new product pack, you really don't want to be going down there, having all these canonicals going back to the original one. I mean, you know, if you miss one, if you forgot to do it on this one, and you've missed one there, and you've created a list and spreadsheet, and then you know, do something the next day, and then you come back to it and you skip another one, it could get messy. You know, I'm not saying it will, I'm just saying it would be a bit of a pain to manage all of these. So that way, which will sort out your immediate problem. But then I would definitely be looking at investing into a better built e-com site with a developer that can actually properly structure this for you.
Yeah. Excellent, Tim. Let's move on to the next. Another e-com site. They're very popular tonight. Gaz Underhill has an e-commerce question. He said, I'm told, and I read constantly, that e-com sites are a little more difficult to do great SEO on. I'm curious to hear what people think about using the rel canonical tag on all products and point them to the category page. i.e., I sell fruit, so I would point all Apple product pages to the Apple category page, and all pear pages would point to the pear category page. Has anyone seen this or seen it done? Is it a stupid idea? Yes. I would love to hear everyone and anyone's thoughts, SEOs or website owners. I see Steve Garenza said, don't do it. Alan Blue Eyes provided an image. Kath Dawson Courtney said, agree that you shouldn't do that. Canonical should only be used when you have multiple copies of the same page. Yes, that's correct. Thank you. All of these can be read on the Dumb SEO Questions community on Google+. Steve Garenza followed up and said, don't ever do it. Where is Steve these days? When's he coming back on the panel?
Right, so here's the situation, guys. No, whatever article you read that gave you that idea, it either was a shit article, or B, you may have misinterpreted it. So essentially, you've got a category for apples, right? Introduction, hi, you know, I'm Gaz. We sell and source the best freaking apples on the planet. Blah, 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 blah. A little bit about you, ordering, you can order 24 hours a day, or we deliver, or whatever the case may be. Then you have your apples. You have your cocks. You have your, I'm trying to think of freaking apples now.
iPods. iPods, Tim. Does that help you?
No.
iPods.
He said fruit. So I tell you what. So you have,
Apricot.
the apples. So I'm
Blackberry. Blackberry with apples.
Shut up. I've got a Cox apple in my apple category. Cox apples, Red Delicious. I've got Gala, Fuji's, Granny Smith's, blah blah blah. Those are completely unique. So if I click on that product, it's going to be only about Red Delicious, or Cox apples. You can give obviously an introduction to that actual apple, the type of variety. Is it a slight cross, or is it a purebred Cox apple? Why you feel that yours is great? We lovingly caress these and tickle them every night before we pick them, that kind of stuff. And no, that is a pure product. There's no way that you want to then canonicalize that product, that Cox apple, back to the apple category, because essentially, if Googlebot honored that canonical tag, your actual Cox apple is not going to appear. So someone's going to search Cox apples that were lovingly tickled every night, not going to appear, because you're saying, well, this is where this belongs, which is your generic apple page, which you don't happen to talk about, your lovingly tickled Cox apple. So it may not appear. The only time you want to start going down the canonical road is, let's say you've clicked onto your product page for Cox apples, and within your Cox apples, people can order large, medium, or small, which if you clicked on those, or you had, let's say, within that large, mediums, or smalls, which each had their own little, parameter query kind of page. One was a red Cox apple, and one was a yellow Cox apple, and one was a green Cox apple. Those are essentially still the same products, except they are different color variations or size variations. Now, those parameter queries that result from the small, large, medium, or red, green, and yellow, you can canonicalize back to the Cox apple product, because they are a variation on the Cox apple. So, but you always want the Cox apple showing as Cox apples, not the parameter query, large, small, medium, or I'm looking for a large red Cox apple, which creates parameter queries. Do you see what I mean? So that's when you want to use a canonical, because it's essentially the same product that's being duplicated, but just for large, small, medium. So that's when you want to use it, but you never want to take the actual product itself and take it back to the category. Okay, I hope that explained it.
Yes, it did, Tim, and a very good answer it was too. Let me tweet that, and we'll bolt to the next. Oh, I've already done it. Okay, so we've got 4 to go. Carl Burrows, preferred domain on Search Console is the title. He said, I recently rebranded and had to change domains to reflect the new name. I have redirected the old domain to the new one and indicated on Search Console that I am doing that as well. It has been several months now, and I'm still not getting the option of selecting the preferred domain on Search Console. Is there a reason for that, and does this affect my rankings?
Okay, so Search Console is not going to affect your rankings by selecting. I don't think it. No, you can't select a preferred domain. You can create your preferred domain in Search Console. So, for example, and you see this a lot, your site is running on HTTP www.carlburrows.com. Now, your Google Analytics should be set to HTTP because it's an HTTP, and obviously www.carlburrows.com. Your Search Console should also be http://. So it should be the exact same domain that your site is displayed on. Now, often a lot of people will change things or have something newly done or switch to HTTPS. You need to obviously set up your Search Console. Just, in your Search Console dashboard, just chuck on there, add a site. So for example, if you went from HTTP to HTTPS, I would just chuck the new one on for HTTPS, and with domain. Or if you switch something around and now you're displaying your site with www, just add that into, just create the new one on your Search Console. It takes a couple of days to update that, the data in there, but you'll be getting your data pretty soon after that.
Thank you, Tim. I just point out that if your previous domain is abc.com and your new domain is xyz, all you can do is use the change of address and point out that the new site is, this is just a hint for Googlebot, but it just points out that your intention is to move to the new site. So Googlebot will follow that direction and crawl your site on xyz.com. But you can't use xyz abc.com to select XYZ as the preferred domain. You can only select parts of ABC, could be HTTP or HTTPS, or it could be www. That's the selected domain you can get, as well as geo-targeting. Yeah, I probably didn't make sense then. I won't try to elaborate. I will move on. I didn't repeat anything you already said, did I, Tim?
No.
I just thought I added a bit in. Please decipher these Moz metrics, asks Ted Rinched. It's for a blog. The metrics are for a blog site. Page authority 44, domain authority 61, spam score 2/17. Is it good enough link juice for a blog post? Helen Blue Eyes just had a coronary.
I have no idea, mate. I mean, I don't know what Moz works and metrics on. I've never.
Yeah, it's a proprietary metric, Ted, and really, this is really a question for Moz.
And is it enough link juice for a blog post?
In other words, well, he's probably saying
he's got an offer to add a blog post on a site that.
Yeah, I think that's what he means. He's asking whether it's worthwhile him doing a guest post on that site.
Okay, so Ted, let me give you my famous answer here, mate. Okay, I think it's famous. You may not think it's so famous, but anyway. Let's put it to you this way, Ted. One, to put a blog post on there. You may have either pitched them with your idea, or they may have approached you because they like your work and they want you to put something onto their site. now, because that you've brought this up, essentially this in theory should be a no followed link anyway, because there's some incentive there of you putting this on, or you're just pitching it to them. I don't know, but that's besides the point. What you should be looking at is looking at potential traffic that this is going to do for you. Okay, if you're going to spend 4, maybe 5 hours working up or crafting up an article for someone, right, that you ultimately want people to read and enjoy, okay, you should be looking at the potential in return. You should not be looking at this in terms of a link, right? Because one single link of, you know, a fairly decent site for you, right? One single one is not going to do anything for you. It might shift some tiny little internal metric, but it's not going to take you from position 3 to position 1, or 2 to 1, or from, you know, it's not going to do anything in that respect. So what you should be looking at here is what traffic is this going to do for me? If I'm going to spend 5 hours, even 8 hours, you know, depending on how in depth you're going to be doing this, you know, if I'm going to be spending those hours, what is this going to be doing for me? You know, is this going to be getting traffic? How much traffic does this site get? And how related are, you know, naturally, I'm assuming this is pitch perfect in your niche, right? I'm assuming it's, you know, perfect in your niche. So am I going to get traffic out of this? That is what you want to know. If I'm going to spend all that time creating something, am I going to get traffic? Are people going to go, wow, who's this Ted guy? I'm going to share this. You know, I'm going to share this, and I'm assuming you've got a little bio in there, which is going to have, you know, either your Twitter handle or, you know, your, you know, one of your social things or whatever. Are people going to share this? Are people going to go say, whoa, you know, these are the best. I don't know what you do, Ted. I'm going to say paint finishing spraying expert. Jesus, check out this brilliant technique from Ted here. You know, this article, I'm going to share that. Boom. Wow. Amazing. Wow. You know what? I want to go and check out Ted's own blog, because, you know, if this guy's talking about this, I want to go check out his stuff. I want to follow through. I want to check out this link. I want to follow his link in his author's name there and follow through. I want to share this article. I want to talk about this article. So essentially for you is you're going to create a brilliant piece for these guys. Their users are going to enjoy it. But what you want out of this is, what am I going to get out of this? Are people going to share this? Do they have the traffic that is actually going to benefit me in the long term? Are they going to be sharing this? Is it going to get me out there socially as a thought leader in that field? Are people going to follow me socially? Is that the aim? Or are people going to click through because, I don't know, you've just talked about this brilliant new way of spraying a car that only you know how to, that you've talked about this, and, you know, you've said, check out my other spraying techniques, or check out my other cars that I did on my site, and you've got a little link there. You know, are they all going to want to go, wow, you know, Jesus, this is amazing, I want to go and look through there? And then they start looking through that, and obviously hopefully purchase, or you get emails or whatever. That's what you should be looking at. You should not be looking at one potential link. Theory should be no followed anyway. But essentially that's what you want. You want an action there. If you're going to spend that time, you want to know that there's going to be some form. If you are also just maybe, let's say, saying, okay, I want to get into this field as a thought leader, and I want to make a bit of a name for myself, then fair enough. If that's your first article in this really great authoritative site, then fine. you know, in that sense, maybe maybe I'm not going to get the kind of desired effect because people don't know me just yet. But I plan on publishing more in there. And over time, you know, as people read, recognize your name, then you develop a reputation. I can totally get that because we're all going to start somewhere. But ultimately, if you're going to spend the time, you want some return on that. You want something in return on that, whether it be building a reputation, whether it be people sharing that socially and then following through to check out your site afterwards to see additional stuff. You know, there's a whole lot of reasons. Not be doing it for a link. I would be doing it for visits, traffics, for, you know, for quantifiable traffic in that sense.
Yep, good one, Tim. All right, let's move on to the next. We have 2 to go. Jacob Punton. What happened to Jake? Jake, come back and see us sometime. Anyway, the title of this is Aggregate Rating. Whoop, whoop. Jake said, so I've managed to get aggregate ratings achieved by a schema for a window cleaning client in my local area. Here's the thing. The rating is for the contact page. Is this good? I have 4 questions. 1, is it a good thing to have the review in the sidebar that is on every page? Hence, it's on the Contact Us page. 2, is it good to have aggregate ratings on the Contact Us page? 3, can you add schema to more than 1 review per page? 4, when you use JSON LD for services makeup, do you need to add anything to the HTML on the page? I can't seem to find a relevant tutorial on adding service makeup in JSON LD. On a positive note though, aggregate rating, whoop, whoop.
Okay.
Tim Capper's just so carried away by the whoop, whoop.
Woo! Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Right. Okay. So, Jacob, yeah, I don't know why you even marked up the aggregate rating on the Contact Us page. So here's the thing. Let's say you've got you've probably put the rating, like the little slider or whatever, you know, plugin or whatever it was from site-wide. That isn't a problem, right? The problem comes in is that you should only be marking up the actual service that it applies to. So page is about, hi, welcome to Jacob's Ladder. And then your actual service is wooden ladders, and that's your actual, you know, rating. Actually, that's your product and your service. You make wooden ladders or you sell wooden ladders, and that is what your actual to. That is the page that you should have actually only marked up with an aggregate rating, because that is the page it's applicable to. So you can, you know, it's fine if you want to shout about your ratings and your reviews or whatever, and you know, I've got 5 stars, and it's fine if that's site-wide, but in theory you should only be marking up the product or page that it relates to. So for example, across my entire site, my site, for example, my ratings only relate to my actual 2 service pages. And those are the only 2 that the aggregate ratings marked up on. Okay, so that's the only 2. They display the rating in the, obviously, search results, and none of the others, because that's just fully compliant. You can actually be hit with a manual penalty for spammy structured data. All right, so just be aware of that. Yes, you can. And then what was the other one? He asked, what was his next part of the question? He asked something about Jason LD or?
Yeah, let me just scroll up here. He wants to know, is it good to have aggregate ratings on the Contact Us page? I mean, that's the one that's appeared on.
No, well, that's it's not applicable. Ultimately, the algo should ultimately filter those out anyway. And worst case scenario, you're looking at depending on how many pages there are, you're looking at a manual. I think they call it spammy structured data markup. And then, yeah, and what was he talking about?
He said, once you add JSON LD, do you have to add any more HTML?
No, so you don't need to do it. You can either do it in either or. You know, you can use rich snippets, HTML, or JSON LD. I prefer JSON LD purely because that will update itself on that page when my reviews update. So, for example, I'm mocking up my business page reviews, which is embedded on my 2 service pages. So essentially, when so I've got 25 reviews, 5 out of 5. When someone else somewhere in the world adds another review and it goes to 26, because I'm using JSON LD and that's, you know, JavaScript, that will update itself. Whereas with HTML, would that update itself in HTML? Depends on how you've marked that up. But anyway, so yeah, I prefer to use JSON LD. It's simple, nice, especially if it saves you having to edit a freaking page and just correcting the HTML and that. It's entirely up to you, whichever you find the easiest and most effective. Yeah, just be aware of what I said in terms of the spammy structured data.
Yep, fair enough. I see David Kucher said, unless you show out of and the reviews plus linkage to an authority site where they reside, I'd assume those stars will be short-lived. Anyway, here we go. We're on to number 19 on our run list from Josu Sanchez Arnaldo. He said, I'm repeating the same paragraphs 3 times on the same page. Is that duplicate content? Is it bad for ranking that page? Siteliner.com tells me that 15% of my content is not original on the page. It is duplicated content from my own site. Is that okay? Well, us saying it's okay or not okay won't make it so.
Right. So look, you need. So look, it all depends on what you're saying. You know, it all depends on what you're saying about this paragraph. So, is this paragraph your what we call, like, you know, is that your tagline for the business? Like, we're the best, woohoo, right? Is that like your tagline? We're the best, woohoo. And that appears somewhere at the top there, going, you know, at the very beginning, you know, Josu Sanchez, we're the best, yeah, woohoo. And then down there by your reviews, somewhere on the right-hand side of the page, you've got another little bit going, and that's your tagline again, going, we're the best, woohoo. And then in your very footer, that's also in your footer. Look, that's not a problem, you know. But if, when you say a paragraph, is this what, like 100 words? What is it? You know, is it 10 words? Is it 100 words? And, you know, does it make sense? You know, does it make sense? If you have put that paragraph in the top line, and because there's a secondary section on your homepage or on whatever page where it makes sense to have that in again, and then at the very bottom within your footer or something, or where somewhere it makes sense, or you feel it makes sense to put that in again, well, fine. You know, the thing is, does it make sense? It's not going to be a duplicate content on a page, because, you know, it's not duplicate. Yeah, it's duplicating on a page, but does that make sense? And that internal one singular page that you use it in is not going to filter itself out of search results. So the question you've got to ask is, does that make sense for the user? Is he going to read that page and go, oh, fuck, he's just talking about that. Oh, he's just talking about that again. Oh, he's just talking about that. I'm out of here. You know, does it need to be, you know, I mean, does that make sense? It sounds a bit weird to me that I would have the same paragraph 3 times within a page for whatever the reason. Sounds a little bit weird. But unless I see it, it might make sense. You know, I don't know what you do. So it might make sense to reinforce that particular paragraph. I'm not entirely sure. It's not going to make a difference if you know, put that in on the same page 3 times. I think it's more of a question of, does it make sense to your users and your readers to duplicate that 3 times? And if it does, there's not a problem.
Yeah, and before we move on from this question, Tim, I'd just like to refer you to a comment, one of the responses on the Dumb SEO Questions site.
Don't even go there, mate. Don't even go there. Don't even go there, because Casey was paid to say that. I know exactly where you're going with this. And Casey, don't do stuff like that, mate. You don't know what you're doing to me. You're killing me, Casey, for writing stuff like that. Don't go there.
All right. Here's this one that's been Neil Cheeseman. I admire him for his valiant persistence. Firstly, what I would do with if I were Neil, and it's exactly what I'm going to do with the ShopSafe group of websites soon, and that is rewrite them all from scratch. Because what I've found is that over the years, accidents have taken place, deliberate subterfuge has been taken, and, you know, things that you wouldn't do now, but you did 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, and they've just gradually built up. So by preserving the same link structure, but recreating that code, and you know, a development site doesn't include all of the little glitches that are in it, and that's what I'd suggest to Neil. Just the site is tanked for some reason or other. Algorithmic penalties, that they only last for a finite time, and then who knows what that finite time might be. So let's say it was 90 days. But after 90 days, if you haven't fixed that problem, bang, the algorithmic penalty is reapplied. And that's the loop that you'll break out of by starting over with a new, fresh site and moving that content. And it's not that hard. I mean, most sites, the visible content you can cut and paste. You're not doing anything incredible, but I just start off with a new site, new theme. What do you reckon, Tim?
Yeah.
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 No,
That is my education. That is my
right.
education.
We'll chalk that one up. Tim Capper agreed with Jim Munro on the 14th of July
Jesus.
2017.
Oh man, I tell you what, you're all again. Casey beforehand, now Neil. They're all at it. How much are you paying these bastards?
Yes. Let's have a good look at Neil's site, eh? Because this is our last question. I think we only had 20. We're on number 20, so let's have a look at Neil's site. You still awake, Rob? All right, where is it? Comment down. So the site is www.findpetportraits.co.uk.
Didn't suggest it to me.
Okay, I'm looking at the robot's text. I'll give you a link to it, Tim. There we are. That has no disallow or allow, as far as I can see. Can you see it?
It's showing a disallow for the WP admin.
Yeah, but just that. That doesn't mean that, well, let me just test it.
Why are you allowing WP admin Ajax? Huh? That doesn't make sense. In fact, one won't crawl the other because you're disallowing the root. You're allowing the same root, but then no.
And yet, hang on. Googlebot is allowed according to that. I don't know. I don't see how that works. I really don't see how that works.
Anyway, so what was the original query? It's if I search for www dot, apparently Googlebot suggests, well, it's not doing it for me. Maybe because we've looked at the site, I don't know. Nope, I can't get it to. No. I can't recreate what Neil's saying. Do you know what, Neil? I would, these it's maybe because we've seen them all the time, but I wonder if you could get No, I'm just commenting on the site.
Let me share my screen.
I wonder if you could get. You'll be sharing to everyone, hey?
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't mind sharing to everybody.
Huh?
There we are.
I was just saying to Neil, these pet portraits could do with some kind of really nice.
See what I see? I suppose find pet portraits. Who's going to look for that? Anyway, I see him as #1 for find pet portraits. What about just pet portraits?
What are you trying to show me, Jim?
I was just trying to show you up there on the screen there. He was #1. He said he wasn't ranking at all, but
Yeah. Oh.
he should be advertising on AdWords, because pet portraits, that wouldn't cost him much given his domain name.
That's where he wants some of his images appearing in image search. That'd be easy enough to do.
Yeah, see that Sarah's pet portraits and others. Sarah, she's really tried hard. Got all those image searches in. Yeah. I can't see much wrong with this site. I've had a look at it before. He doesn't say what keywords that he used to rank for a few years ago, does it?
No. Well, you know, Jim, if you chuck this into SEMrush, you can see that it's awful, right? then it had these major weird dips. Then it's just had massive dips, and then since 2016, it's kind of been in a Then it took a big jump again in November 2016, and then it's kind of just sort of been static since February 27.
This is for pet portrait artist horse, and found them at about position 20. But that's Sarah's pet portraits. I think you should analyse what they're doing, because they're strong in image search, and also they're number 2 in the organic. Her site's nothing to write home about. Anyway, do you think it's likely we'll come up with something enlightening for Neil?
You know, when you look at the site, there's not much actual content on it. Hang on, let's see.
Yeah, that competitor that's doing very well, their site is nothing special, but it does have a lot of text on it. This is good work, Neil. He's got, you know, all of his redirects are done properly. The canonical links are there. Oh, wait. Yeah. Interesting that in that query for pet portrait artist horse, what shows up is the home page and not the page that is horse portraits from photos, equine portraits, horse drawings, and then a whole lot of text with horse in it. It's almost as though that particular page has been shot down in flames. I mean, it should rank for that query, not the home page. No, I can't see anything, Tim. We leave it for another day?
Yeah.
All right. Well, when you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for watching. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. You can ask your questions in the SEO Questions community on Google+, on the Dumb SEO Questions community on Facebook, and you can also ask a question on our Twitter handle, Dumb SEO QS. As I said, we'll be back next week to do it all again. But for